Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lock Shop. Nielson and Hustler back with you once again. Lots to get to this week. Obviously, it is Super Bowl week. It's CFL free agency day as well. We've got lots to do. And as always, The Lock Shop brought to you by Coolbet. Sign up for an account today. Just use the bonus code LOCKSHOP when you sign up. 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. Huss, what's up, buddy?
Well, Dusty, crazy day so far. I mean, we both obviously follow the CFL very closely. Some crazy player movement and some pretty wild numbers. $300K under the couch for our boy Kenny Lawler in Edmonton, huh? Wow.
That's remarkable. $300,000 for a wide receiver in the CFL. Like when I saw Lucky Whitehead get 205, I was like, holy smokes. This is going to be the highest paid receiver. And then Duke Williams comes in at like 260 and Kenny Lawler comes in at 300. It's unbelievable.
It really is. Greg Ellingson coming here. Haven't heard the numbers, but he'll be a great addition to the Blue Bombers, losing Kenny Lawler and Darvin Adams to Ottawa. And the big story in Winnipeg is what's going to happen with Andrew Harris. I mean, this is a guy that has come back, has been the most impactful free agent signing in Blue Bomber history. And I was speaking with Naylor yesterday. I mean, many would argue the most impactful free agent signing in CFL history as to what he's done for this franchise, a hometown guy, such a big part of this team. It would be heartbreaking, I think, for many Bomber fans if he wasn't in the mix. Sounds like there's a bit of a standstill right now between Harris and the Blue Bombers. So that'll be a big topic, but lots going on. I'm actually going to be going out tonight, going to a live NHL hockey game, if you can believe that. Jets are back. They're certainly up against it. We'll talk about some NHL Stanley Cup odds coming up in a little bit. But the schedule is back. And for those of us that didn't have a lot to do over the last week or so without the NHL playing, with the NFL on, we're going to be somewhat back to normal, certainly with our betting options. And of course, the Olympics are on right now. I'm already 3-0 today, Dusty. What can I tell you? Shout out to the Canadian women. Shout out to the Japanese women at plus 160. Gotten it out in OT. And the Finns avenging that embarrassing loss to Canada by pumping the Russians. We will get to some Olympic betting a little later on after we get to our Tuesday hockey picks, as well as the Wasted Management Open in Phoenix.
Pretty much exactly what it is. I love the fact before we went live, you're telling me, you're like, I woke up at like 3 a.m. and I was like, what's going on in that Japanese hockey game? I just like, this is classic middle of the night Huss. I just love it.
Yeah, it's the first couple months of the year. I mean, I get into that Australian Open time zone for a while where I find that I'm staying up all night watching these tennis matches, and I just sort of got it back to normal. And now the Olympics are here, and I don't know if you were able to catch it. I know you got to get up real early, but that Canada-USA women's hockey game last night was phenomenal. Marie-Philippe Poulin is an absolute legend. And I mean, that line she's on with Sarah Nurse and Brianne Jenner, tell you what, I don't know what the Jets' bottom six is going to be looking like tonight, but I wouldn't mind having those three ladies in for the game against Minnesota. And got to give a shout out to St. Anne's Jocelyn The Rock, an absolute iron horse on the blue line. And Annonay Desbiens, what a performance in net, because, I mean, the Americans played their asses off. I mean, I think they pretty much outshot Canada 2-1. Some great PKs and just some big-time playmakers making big-time plays for a big win. Cannot wait for the rematch, which is what we'll all expect to happen in the gold medal game coming up later on in the Olympics.
Yeah, Ken Holland has already offered Desbiens a 4-year deal at $16 million after the performance last night. She was absolutely terrific. Let's start with some hockey. Here's what we're going to do. Actually, quickly on, it is Super Bowl week, and obviously Friday's show is going to be a huge Super Bowl show. Huss, have you placed anything on this game, whether it be player props or anything yet, or you're kind of waiting till later in the week?
You know what? I mean, for the props and whatnot, I will wait till a little later in the week. I've been really following where this line has gone. And I mean, I think it's going to end up between like right around 4.5. I think there's value on the Bengals at 4.5, to be honest. I mean, I just think that the way that they've played, There is the potential that the Rams, who I think are certainly better on paper, could sort of run away with this. But the Chiefs were running away with it against the Bengals, and we all know how that one ended up. So I think I'm leaning Bengals right now. But the one thing that I am on, has been interesting to see how this total has been bet down to 48.5. Gone on the over at 48.5. I think that, listen, I got a lot of faith that the Bengals are going to be able to score some points behind Joe Burrow. And I certainly think that the Rams will be able to. So it was sort of interesting seeing where all the trends were going, maybe kind of jump in at a good number, but we'll be locked and loaded with plenty for Friday's final NFL show. God, that makes me sad. There's no more depressing day of the year than the Monday after the Super Bowl. My God. And it's Valentine's Day too. So, geez, double whammy.
Big plans. All right, let's get into Stanley Cup Fusion. They had a bunch of midseason player props up. We were going to get to those on Friday, but we didn't have an episode on Friday. So the Stanley Cup odds are still there as of today. So we've got a couple of plays that we both like in the Stanley Cup Futures. Should know Colorado is the favorite at plus 425. Then it's a pretty big jump down to Tampa and Florida at plus 800. We're both on the Canes, so maybe we start there at plus 1200. We're getting the Canes at 12-1, a number that I really like. I saw you had it. I wasn't going to go away from it. I think the Canes at 12-1 is some of the best value on this board.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I think with these couple bets, I mean, right now, I mean, if you put a gun to my head and said, who's going to win the Stanley Cup? I mean, I'm probably saying the Colorado Avalanche. And, beyond that, I mean, it's probably still hard to go against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And you've got just a core of elite teams at the top. But I think the Canes are one of those teams. And when you look at the East, one of the really important things why I think this number stands out as opposed to Tampa and Florida and Toronto is the fact that they're in the other division. And, in the Leafs, if the Leafs don't finish first place, they're going to be going up in the first round against either Florida or Tampa. And the winner of that series is going to play whoever Florida or Tampa finish first. So, I mean, just to get out of that division is going to be so difficult. It's a little bit of a different story over in the Metropolitan. I mean, they're in first place. They've got a bunch of games.
Hey, Huss, wait a sec. Let me stop you. Your mic started kind of clicking, so just reset quickly. Load back in. I don't know what happened there. It just kind of got robot-y. We'll have Huss log back in here. It's breaking down the Hurricanes good here. We're both on the Hurricanes at plus 1,200. I'm on the Panthers at plus 800. We'll get to that. And interesting with the Flames pick. I almost put the Pittsburgh Penguins in at plus 1,600. I'm not going to lie. I know they were a little bit slow heading into the break, but there we go. Huss, we got you back. Give us a test there.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
He's back. He's good. He's clear. He's good to go. Good. Okay, tell us more about the Canes.
Yeah, so listen, this 12-1 on the Canes, I think it just stands out because, I mean, it's a better number than you're getting on Tampa, on Florida, or even Toronto right now. They're in that mix. And the bottom line is, I think that if we're talking about a team to get to the conference finals, I'd feel much better about Carolina having to go through the likes of the Pens, Caps, or Rangers as opposed to those two Florida teams and even Toronto. So I just think that's a nice number as opposed to, the other teams in the East. And then basically let you go to Carolina with your thoughts on that, and then we can get to those other two picks.
It's funny you brought it up because the main thing that I thought of, I mean, first of all, coming out of the East, whoever comes out of the East, there's a reason Colorado's plus 425 because they're the clear-cut favorite in the West. It's not even close. I do think whoever comes out of the East will. I mean, we'll see how the playoffs play out, but I think 5 or 6 teams in the East would be a coin flip against Colorado right now, Carolina being one of them. My main reasoning on not going away from the Canes here at 12-1 is exactly what you laid out. I mean, that division on the other side with Florida, Tampa, and Toronto, it's just you're going to have to win 2 massive series. Nothing against the Canes division. It's good, but I think Carolina is in that elite group with Tampa and Florida. Florida's the other team that I've got at 8-1. If they get goaltending, I think they could just be a juggernaut. I think they're going to add a defenseman as well. That forward group is as good as it gets. They've got obviously the superstars in Huberdeau and Barkov. They've got these young guys that are contributing as well in a significant way. And then they've got a good sprinkling of other vets along the way. Reinhart was a great pickup. Bennett was a great pickup. Their forward group is just awesome. If the Panthers can get goaltending, I do believe they are a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. So I take them at 8-1, even over Tampa. I know, Tampa's done it a couple of times here. Tampa's done it in some unique situations, though. So I'm going to be on Florida at 8-1. I was saying when you were reconnecting, your Flames at 23-1 is something else. What's the deal with that?
Okay, well, first of all, just on the Panthers, because I do like the Panthers and they've been scoring goals in bunches. But I go back to thinking about how Tampa won last year. I mean, they had to beat the Islanders in a Game 7, 1-0. And once you get to the playoffs, I mean, there will be some games like that. And I do have my doubts as to whether Florida can win those 1-0 and 2-1 games. Against the top teams. I mean, listen, they're going to win their fair share of games. They'll be there. But if it comes down to that, I think the Canes are better suited to put it on that. But this Flames number stuck out to me big time. And for a couple reasons. And it almost goes back to my last point about being able to win in the playoffs in a different style of hockey. I think Sutter knows what it's about to win. And I've already been incredibly impressed. I mean, this team has far exceeded my expectations. You're getting a career year out of Johnny Gaudreau. Matthew Tkachuk is back. Elias Lindholm is having a monster season. I mean, and that top line for Calgary has been one of the top lines in the entire National Hockey League. They have also got a goaltender, a guy that they will lean on that can get hot and can win you some games. And I think with the way that Daryl Sutter will approach the playoffs, the way he'll prepare his team to play, the buy-in that he's getting from the Flames right now, and the fact that they do have a goaltender that I think that could get onto a run. I mean, listen, I'm not saying that they're going to win the Stanley Cup, but, every year there's a team that comes in the 6th, the 7th, the 8th spot that goes on a big run. And if you look at some of the boxes to check off with, a goalie that's capable of doing that, a team that plays a style that's conducive to winning in the playoffs and playing good defensive hockey, and obviously the ability to score goals, Calgary, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Calgary to me checks off a lot of those boxes. So if you're looking for a fun long shot number right now of a team that I think will be in the playoffs and could potentially do some damage, I'll throw a little sprinkle on the Flames at 23-1. Although you could tell me that they lost in the first round of the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, again, we're talking about teams that can go deep. And, this Flames team is just night and day from what we saw last year when they weren't even in the playoffs. So, and I think people are maybe slow to come around on that number. And again, a big part of this is Sutter and Markstrom. I mean, I think they've got the coach and the goaltender that give them the opportunity, and the way everyone else has bought into what Sutter's doing. I mean, I think if you're a Flames fan right now, I'd be excited for the second half of the season and what could happen in the playoffs.
You are right on the goaltending and the coach. I mean, that's two keys for any team to go on a run, and they certainly have that. As for the NHL tonight, before we get to our waste management picks and some sprinkles on the Olympics from Huss, where are we going tonight, Huss? What do you? We're both on Carolina again here at -1.5. But I wanted to put this up because since you sent it out last night, that number was -109. I looked at it this morning. It's actually +106. So you're getting better value on the Hurricanes right now, -1.5, than we were last night. So just a note, that's why the two numbers are different. But Huss, what else are you throwing in here?
Yeah, well, I mean, just quickly on that Carolina, they played last night, tough game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They lost in the OT. So I think they go to Ottawa, who won last night against New Jersey. And I mean, to me, these are just two teams in very different weight classes in the National Hockey League. I like Carolina to bounce back and get the 2 points, and I don't mind laying the puck and a half. Pittsburgh at Boston. To me, Boston, I think, really now gets into a groove at trying. I mean, listen, they're the 8th place team right now. They've got a massive lead. There's no question that they're going to be in the playoffs. But right now, it's time to maybe start making a little bit of hay and trying to challenge one of these other teams in their division, as opposed to just sitting around waiting for the wild card. Although, depending on how the wild card works out, it could be advantageous for Boston. I think we'd all say you'd rather probably go across to the Metropolitan as opposed to being the 8th place team and starting with the winner of the Atlantic and then playing whoever comes out of that 2-3. But I like Boston to jump on it. Certainly I thought Pittsburgh was sort of struggling a little bit. I believe they lost 3 or 4 heading into the break. So give me Boston at home to start things off. And then the game here in Winnipeg that I will be attending as a fan. Cannot wait to actually be in a building again, doing what we love to do. I'm taking the under 6.5 in this game. The Jets just keep on getting hits. Neil Pionk out with COVID. Pierre-Luc Dubois put on the list right now. He's been the clear number 1 center for the Winnipeg Jets. So, this is a team that wasn't scoring a ton as it was. I think they're going to be even more stressed. to score goals without Pierre-Luc Dubois and Neil Pionk in the lineup tonight. And to me, this is going to be a huge challenge for Connor Hellebuck to keep this team in the game. I mean, if they win, I don't think they're winning a shootout. The game plan is going to be keep it tight, eliminate the chances for the Minnesota Wild, stay in this game and try and grind out 2 points some way or another in the third period or in the extra frame. And I think that means that this will be more of a defensive game. Certainly that's what Dave Lowry's hoping to get out of his club tonight. So I'm going to take the under in that game at 6.5. So with the Carolina puck line, the Boston money line, and the under in the Jets, Minnesota. Last night, that was at plus 507. But as Dusty mentioned, we've already seen a bit of a movement on that Carolina line. So you're probably looking at maybe closer to about plus 515 or 520 if you want to jump on that right now.
Yeah, and in addition to Carolina minus 1.5 at plus 106 against Ottawa tonight for me, I'm going to go, I might spend most of the second half of the NHL season just betting the opposition of Arizona in regulation, just to as an experiment to see how much I can make off of that. So I'm on Vancouver in regulation tonight against the Coyotes. And then I'm going a little bit against the grain here. You're going to get plus 100 as of this morning on under 6.5 in Montreal, New Jersey. Now, Montreal has been hemorrhaging goals as of late. There's no doubt about that. 8, 7, 5, 4. I mean, they've been surrendering a lot of goals, but you're coming off a break. You get the New Jersey Devils. No Hughes, obviously, in COVID protocol. Also played last night, right? So I'm going to go under 6.5. A rare under hit here for Montreal and New Jersey. And if you parlay those three together, you're going to get plus 544 was the number when I punched it in around 8 o'clock this morning. So if you're looking for some bets on the National Hockey League tonight, we can certainly get into that. Huss, before we move on to Waste Management, what did you think of the All-Star Weekend? Did you watch any of it?
I did. I mean, the game... like I didn't see much of the first one, but did the Pacific Division even show up? I mean, did those guys even try? The second game was pretty good. I mean, listen, I'll be honest. I would have watched 30 seconds of this if I hadn't bet on it. And I know there's few more degenerate things than betting on all-star games. Hell, I had the AFC minus 2.5 in the Pro Bowl just to kind of keep me paying attention to these games. But you know what? It was neat. I mean, especially in the final, they tried to play a little bit of defense. At least there were some efforts out there. And the skills competition was fun. I love the 21 contest. I think now that they've done it once, I think there's some real potential. You could make it much better for television as far as maybe explain to people a little bit more what's going on. And the thing over the fountains was cool. I'll say this about the shootout contest. First of all, everyone knows Zegras got screwed. I don't know how
is he not winning that?
What's the point? What you're giving Peter Angelo 19 out of 10 and that counts? I mean, whatever. That was a joke.
John Hamm, you're killing me.
Yeah, but I'll say this, in this era of inclusion and diversity, all that, I thought it was really cool that they brought Manon Rhéaume out to be part of the All-Star event, but to have her be one of the jobber goalies that has to let everything in basically on purpose in the shootout contest, I don't know. I thought there might have been a better use for a hockey icon of Manon Rhéaume that turned her into the Barry Horowitz or Steve Lombardi of All-Star Weekend.
I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Like, I saw her, and Elizabeth was like, is that a girl? I was like, yeah, this is a girl who played exhibition game in the National Hockey League. And then she just went out, and she was a net for Zegras' goal, wasn't she? Was she a net for Zegras' goal?
And listen, I'm pretty sure they tell these
he's probably scoring that on anybody. Yeah.
Like they don't, like honestly, like my comparison of being a wrestling jobber to the goalies in the shootout, I think is a very accurate one. They're there to do a job, and that job is to let the puck in. Anyone could do that. You don't need Manon Rhéaume. I mean, hell, have her in the booth, have her doing interviews on the ice, have her doing a clinic with young hockey players or something, not basically letting in beach balls and footballs and dodgeballs and whatnot going on into it. So anyways, I just had to laugh at that. I've always been a big fan of Manon Rhéaume. It was cool to see her part of it there, but I just thought maybe the role for a trailblazing female could have been better than taking the squash match, if you will, early in the event.
Nielson and Hustler with you. You are watching or listening to The Lock Shop. If you've not yet subscribed to the podcast, if you're watching right now on the live stream, make sure you sub to the podcast. Search The Lock Shop on all your podcasting platforms. Give us a sub on the podcast. That would be much appreciated. Boy, as we transition to the Waste Management Open, go ahead, Huss.
Hey, hold on a second. Speaking of what would be appreciative, especially for you podcast listeners, if you do have the opportunity at any moment just to go give us a quick review and a 5-star rating, that is another way that really helps us sort of expand the pod. It takes literally 2 seconds. There's no cost to it. We would greatly appreciate it.
That's a nice way to ask, buddy. That's very polite. I was just going to say, go give us a review right now. We'd appreciate that. You know, Huss, when we started the Lock Shop over a year ago now, I dabble in golf betting every once in a while, but your love of betting on golf has kind of led to me becoming a little obsessed with betting on golf as well. And the last 2 weeks, buddy, as we start this new season of golf betting, it has been heartbreaking. You've been so close both times.
2 weeks ago, it was my guy, Willie Z. Zalatoris at a pretty nice number, 34 or 36 to 1, lipping out on what would have been a winning putt on 18 and losing in the playoff. And then last week, I mean, Jordan Spieth was looking great, defied death with his shot on the 8th hole on Saturday. That was insane. If you haven't seen it, just put in Spieth Cliff into your Twitter feed, and you can thank us later. And then he was up by 2 strokes on the back 9, and out of nowhere, Tom Hoagie, he have 203 PGA Tour starts, birdies, 3 of the last 4, and wins it. Listen, I love stories like that of guys that have been on tour for a long time that finally break through and get the win. And I didn't have anything going on in Saudi, but I'll tell you what, my guy Feinberg, I think, was on HV3, Harold Varner at 50 to 1. He chips in for eagle on 18 to win the tournament. A couple of amazing finishes. But yes, the Zalatoris and Spieth picks kept me sweating it right till the end. But that almost is the fun part about the golf bet. Even though I lost $25 or whatever on them each time, it gave me hours and hours of entertainment, although a very unfortunate ending. But you know what? I've been close. Let's make it happen this week. One of my favorite tournaments of the year, the Gong Show. That is the Phoenix Open, a.k.a. the Waste Management Open. Already the Twitter feed's full of pictures of videos of dudes that can barely stand up, walking on the timeline going, it's Waste Management Week. It certainly is the most fun tournament of the year. And you know what's really interesting? This field is absolutely packed. Pebble Beach wasn't very packed. This one is. A lot of guys that played in Saudi coming over, other guys that have, jigged up their schedule. And it's funny. I mean, this is now turning into one of the premier events on tour all season long, outside of the majors and the players. But part of that is the fact that we've got some much better numbers on guys than we normally would. I listened to Mayo and Feinberg talking about Xander Schofley, and Xander has had some great performances here. It was a runner-up, I believe, last year to Brooks. And finally, we're getting a reasonable number. I mean, Xander has been such a popular pick to break through and win again, that often we're looking at Xander numbers at 12, at 13, at 14. And it's tough to swallow those. 22 to 1. I'm in on Xander Schofley. He's been quiet this year. You would think a guy that is that good, just waiting to break out. And then you got Brooks Koepka, defending champ. Hasn't done a lot so far this season, but won last year. He's a 2-time champion. And, one of the things that I've done, much like the Spieth pick last year, is look to guys that, are in a position where they might pop for a week, as well as having great course history. And Brooks Koepka is certainly that guy. We remember the way he won the tournament last year at a number, I think a little less than this, if I recall correctly. But man, if you're pushing 30 to 1 on Brooks, I am definitely in on that. And he's had a couple of other bigger numbers so far this year. But has been in the mix. I think this is the week that he will certainly contend and try and defend his championship in the most ruckus atmosphere in golf, which I think is something that Brooks eats up. And then you know what, Tony? We got to get back to Tony time. You got a couple of off tournaments so far this year, but this is another guy that has been right there. I believe he lost in a playoff a couple years ago here at this event. A lot of his game fits the course for the Phoenix Open. And again, you got to make a few putts and hopefully have that short game going. But when it comes to striking and driving the ball, Tony Finau's right up there with the best. And for a number pushing 40 to 1, could not help but get on Tony. So loving these. I love the value on these numbers. I mean, and that to me often is the key for betting golf. I mean, no one knows really who is going to win. I think the best way you can do it is kind of put your wagers in areas that give you the best value on it. And if you can do that consistently throughout the year, you'll probably end off better than not if you're able to hit a few winners. So Xander at 22, Brooks at 29, and Tony Finau at 39 for my three picks.
Yeah, and I'm going to go to Hideki. I'm going to start with Hideki. Got him at 18-1 right now. Second all-time in earnings at TPC Scottsdale. Won the event twice back-to-back, 16 and 17. He's the only guy on tour so far this year. All right, I mean, we're just getting going. But he's already got 2 victories. He's the FedEx Cup points leader. So this is a guy who's been playing out of his mind to start the year. He's had a ton of success at this course in the past. And you're getting him at 18-1. Like when you lay it out, when I was looking at some previews, and like I said, like since you got me into golf betting, I've got 4 or 5 different sites I'll go and check out as I put together my picks. And I hadn't even seen the number on Hideki yet, but I kind of laid out the case for him looking at these sites, and it's like, okay, wow, this sounds like it's going to be in that 12 to 15 range, and I get him at 18-1. So I'm going to take Hideki at 18-1. Jordan Spieth's interesting. You get him at 20-1. Last year, these 2 events were flipped, and Spieth was excellent both weeks. Back-to-back both weeks. Wasn't able to win, but I think he was T3, T4 in the 2 events last year. Obviously, we saw what he just put together this past weekend here. So he's gone back-to-back great events just as recently as last year with these same 2 courses. So I'm going to go back to Spieth, kind of building on what he had. What you said. Did you say it, or was I reading it this morning? 11 shots back heading into the weekend or something like that? It was insane last week, right? So
last week he was, I don't know whether it would have been 11, but he had a round on Saturday. I think he shot 63.
It was 63.
And I mean, he was a few shots better than the field and was absolutely striking the ball as well. That's what made it, not to, trigger myself, but that's what made it so damn disappointing that he somehow bogeyed 17 and didn't close the deal.
Webb Simpson will be my third guy. He won here in 2020, lost in a playoff in 2017. I believe he's finished. Let me grab the number here. Hang on. He's got 7 top 20s in his last 9 trips. So in 7 of the last 9 times he's been here, he's finished Sunday. Top 20. You're getting Webb Simpson at 39-1 right now. And with the success that he's had, I mean, that's just a crazy number for me. So I'm going to be on Webb Simpson 39. And then a bomb at 99-1, Keith Mitchell. This came up on one of the sites that I was prepping with this morning. Keith. What's that, Huss?
Killer Keith.
Killer Keith. I like that. Last 3 events, 7th mixed cut, 12th. Is 7th on tour so far this year in strokes gained off the tee, which is very important at this course. He was 12th on tour last year in that stat. He's 7th right now, so he's improving there. And the one preview that I read actually kind of laid out that a lot of the guys who've won this event, not all of them, because like Hideki doesn't really fit that, but a lot of the guys, you got to have some swag, right? You got to be able to accept, like Koepka. Like Koepka's a guy who can win this event. I feel like Spieth could be a guy who has that swag to win this event. And by all accounts, that's Mitchell. So it's a long shot at 99-1, but he's been playing well. I don't think the moment's going to be too big for him in this type of environment. So I'm going to do a little sprinkle on Mitchell.
Yeah, this is, listen, this is such a fun tournament. I love the picks, love the guys that we've got on the cards this week. And if you do have the opportunity, Saturday especially, maybe even more so than Sunday, park yourself down for a couple hours and just watch the gong show that happens on that 16th hole. And if you ever have the opportunity of being in the area, get out to this tournament because it is half PGA tournament, half the most debaucherous keg party you've ever been to in your life. I can't even describe it. We were there for Super Bowl a few years back, Dusty, and I'd worked all week. The game was on Sunday. A friend of mine was down there, so we just hooked up, took an Uber, and went down to check out what it was all about. And the 1 kilometer walk from where we got dropped off to getting into the gates was 95% college kids, tons of girls dressed up nice, dresses, heels, as if they had just been pre-gaming for 16 hours, came straight from the party to the golf course. And I got to tell you, the casualties around that place on the back 9 and when we were leaving was unlike anything I've seen before. Probably I mean, well over, I believe, 150,000 people on the Saturday. That is sort of the day. So if you want to avoid the crowds, get there for the first couple days. If you want to see something unlike anything you've ever seen before, get there on Saturday and maybe wear a wetsuit, not because of the weather, because of what might be happening around you. And then, of course, it does get down to business on the back nine on Sunday because someone's going to get a big win on the PGA Tour.
There you go. There's our picks. Schofley, Koepka, Tony back again, Matsuyama, Spieth, Simpson, and a little bit of a sprinkle on Keith Mitchell as well. Haas, before we wrap, you got some Olympic plays for us. What do you got?
Yeah, let's throw down a few Olympic bets. As I said, I'm feeling good after the Canada win last night and my 2 late night sprinkles through the night with Japan, who is, by the way, just quickly, when you're looking at some of these odds, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm an expert on international women's hockey, but there's a few simple things that you can look at. I mean, I knew that, women-wise, the Japanese had been competitive outside of, against Canada, the United States, and the Czechs had never really done anything. I'm looking at this number yesterday for the game, and Japan money line was plus 160, and the Czechs were minus 227. And I look over the IIHF world rankings, and Japan was ranked higher than the Czechs. So sometimes there's some odds anomalies that I think you can take advantage of. And simple things like just looking for world rankings or recent performances in some of these more niche sports can sometimes get you a little bit of an edge. Anyways, it's been a great start to the women's hockey. So let's go with a men's hockey parlay. And this is a little bit of a coward's parlay. I'm staying away from the Canada-Germany game. To be honest, I don't want to bet against Canada, but if I didn't have any skin in the game, I think I'd be thinking about maybe a money line bet on Germany in that first game, because who knows what we're going to expect from Team Canada. I mean, didn't the Germans win the silver last time when when there were no NHLers?
Yes, I believe it was Russia and Germany.
Yeah, and former Oiler great Tobias Reeder leading the way for the Germans as well. So, to me, that's just such a crapshoot. So if you're getting plus 250 or plus 260 on a team, might want to take it. But that's why Canada's not in this parlay. We've got Sweden over Latvia at minus 270, Finland over Slovakia at minus 250, and the U.S. over China at minus 385. I'm shocked that wasn't like minus 750. So jumped in on that right away. You put those 3 teams together, a plus 142 parlay for the first 3 games of the men's hockey tournament. And then the big air snowboarding. Slopestyle was incredible. Shout out to our guys, Max Perot. And what a story he is with what he's been through the last couple of years, winning the gold medal. And Mark McMorris, I mean, dude almost killed himself. He's back, a 3rd Olympic medal. Very cool. The guy that is the number 1 ranked the snowboarder, though, for the big air is the Norwegian Marcus Cleveland. And I believe he was the one that finished in 2nd place. He's looking for a gold medal. I think because there's a lot more Canadians that maybe bet on this, I think the number on Cleveland is a bit better than it normally would.
Okay.
I think there's some real value with him at plus 450 to win the big air snowboarding. And then, let's get on our curling train. By the way, shout out to Carrie Anderson, 3 in a row at the Scotties. She's joining me on Winnipeg Sports Talk today. Looking forward to that chat. I'm not sure that Jen Jones wins the gold medal, but I'm pretty sure that her and her team are going to be able to do what it takes to get onto the podium. So I love Canada top 3 at minus 118 on the women's side. And I know Bruce Mouat is the favorite in the men's curling. Although I think, and again, just because of the way people are betting, I think Brad Gushu right now is a slight favorite at Cool Bet. Opened at plus 225. It's now 2-1, plus 200. That being said, I still like Canada. I think Mouat had a real rough end to the mixed doubles. And then the fact that he played so much going into this event in the mixed, I think Gushu and his rink will be far better conditioned and far more prepared for the grind that will be the tournament. So this is a bit of a heart one, but we're going to bet Brad Gushu in Canada to win the gold in men's. And maybe a sprinkle on Jen Jones to get the gold as well. But I do really like them at minus 118 to get top 3. So as things are going, I suggest people follow us both on Twitter at Nielsen TSN 1260. I'm at Hustlerama. There could be, much like last night, hopefully a few winners dropped very late for what's going to be happening overnight. But these are things that when I was preparing for today's lock shop yesterday, made a point of getting on it before I either A, forget, or B, the line moves.
There you go. You mentioned you got Einerson and Winnipeg Sports Talk today. What else you got coming up?
Well, John Hodge from 3 Down Nation is going to jump on first. We're going to be all over CFL free agency, the big moves around the league, where this leaves the Bombers, what people are hearing about the Andrew Harris situation. We're then going to get ready for the Jets to get back at it. Jamie Thomas will join us from the rink before tonight's puck drop between the Jets and the Minnesota Wild. And then, in the 2 o'clock hour, Carrie Anderson, the 3-time defending Scotties champion, is going to talk about her big win for her and her team. We'll ask her what the party was like in Gimli when she got back, and obviously getting ready for another crack at the World Championships coming up in a couple months up there in Prince George.
There you go. That's another episode of The Lock Shop. Huge episode on Friday. Obviously, everything you need to know about the Super Bowl, our picks, some player props, a ton of stuff on Friday's episode. I cannot. You're right. It's kind of sad. It's going to be great teeing up the Super Bowl, but at the same time, that's it. Unless you already started doing best ball drafts for next year's fantasy, like I have, which kind of gets me in football mode. So that's good. Huss, have a great show today, buddy, and good luck with your Olympic bets. And we will catch up in 3 days, man. Talk to you later.
Right back at you, Dusty. Friday. It's on. One more game. Let's do it big.